Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday night, another episode of the Heavy Metallurgy Album Club. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And I'm joined by two other brilliant and charming young men. We're missing out on Kellen tonight. He's got some automotive problems, so wasn't able to make it. But guys, how you doing? Logan, good to see you. What's been shaking in your part of the country?
Well, some storms coming in, I think, through the whole southeast area. So everyone in this neck of America, stay safe, and I guess up north and the northeast as well. Kind of crazy summer weather we got going on around America. As far as what we're spinning, though, I got a recent sick album from Bind Rune over the weekend. So wanted to talk about returning again one more time. I know it's been brought up once or twice on here, but I think it's that good. It deserves all the praise and the times it gets mentioned. Numinous, their second album. If you're a fan of atmospheric metal or atmospheric black metal, and especially the Cascadian black metal sound, you should listen to this album because it is probably the best in that style I've heard in a bit. So 3 songs, 45 minutes, but you get immersed in, this feel of nature and just being more connected to the great outdoors. So I've enjoyed having it. Cheers, Marty. And since Marty's an upstanding guy, he threw in some extra stuff. Appreciated. Never required, but always appreciated, One thing I was really surprised, in fact, I laughed when I saw it, was Ingested. This is like a deathcore / brutal death metal band. I would never imagine Marty having this lying around his abode, but
I had a Zoller sent me a whole bunch of stuff, and it was just something I haven't gotten to yet. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to this stuff, so I'm just going to start divvying it up.
Well, it's probably
I appreciate him
played.
doing it, but it wasn't. I didn't know if it'd be in my wheelhouse or not. So,
well, it's already been played, probably more than however often you've played it. So I do enjoy the Ingested as a band. At least their earlier stuff. They've become a bit more of a generic modern death metal these days, but they did have some good brutal death metal breakdown style albums. And this was the last one I checked out from 2018, The Level Above Human. So was pleasantly surprised to see that. Cheers, Marty. And then kind of behind the scenes, we've been talking about the Aussie Black Sabbath thing for a little bit. And last week, Jim basically convinced me that I was missing out on some Aussie era stuff because I have kind of been neglecting it. I've got a bunch of his albums behind me on CD, but I've kind of written off the solo Aussie stuff just as more of a bit of like a product of the 80s pop metal kind of feel, and it just doesn't give the same vibe as Black Sabbath. And often when I want to hear Aussie, I want to hear Black Sabbath as well. But I've been checking out the Aussie albums, and the one I've been visiting the most has been No Rest for the Wicked, mainly because I haven't heard this one a single time. But I have 2 different copies of it, so I don't know how that happens. But it was good.
How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, one guy, I thank Jimmy Fowler for this one. Thank you, Jimmy. But yeah, and thank you, Jim, because this has got some great songs on it, and the guitar work from Zach Wilde does shine through. There's some heavy riffs on here, and some interesting songs, man. Like I enjoy Devil's Daughter, Bloodbath in Paradise, Fire in the Sky. There's some great tracks on here. I still don't know what to do with Crazy Babies. That track just it shoots down the whole thing. Yeah, it's a rough one for me. And then maybe it was your stream that you did over the weekend, but I've been having kind of a Christmas in July kind of vibe. Like I'm all of a sudden wanting to listen to black metal with it being 90 degrees outside. So I pulled out Sorcier de Glace. I think I pronounced that right. This is their self-titled album from 2018. 1 50-minute long song, and it goes in a lot of different directions. I got this like a month or 2 ago, and I've honestly really been enjoying it.
They're a good band.
They're
very prolific. Yeah,
they are. It's a good just hodgepodge of atmospheric black metal, but then at the same time, it gets a bit harsher than I think what you're typically thinking. But there's also some clean singing on here, and it
Got
has
some
a
riffs.
Viking mood as well. So been enjoying this a lot, and have been checking out more of their output, and yeah, it all sounds good. So
All right, Jim, good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you. Doing okay this week. Yeah, my wife's stuck in Jersey because of these storms, which sucks. She'll be spending the night in a hotel alone up there. Kind of a bummer, but meanwhile, let's talk about metal tonight. So, thought I'd bring it back to 2013 this week. Listen to Summoning Old Morning's Dawn. Always good time to listen to Summoning. This is another band I always give Marty great props for turning me on to. I'd never even heard of them until Marty put them on my radar, and love them now. Also, speaking of like what Logan mentioned earlier, like the whole Sabbath show, seeing Slayer live was fun. So maybe start thinking about Hell Awaits, and so pulled that in. I was really in the mood to hear Kill Again and Praise of Death, those songs I hadn't listened to in a while. So it was good to spin those and hear those guys again. And it's so funny, dude, Logan, I swear, today I almost listened to Sorcius Des Glaces, not that album, but the other one, the one with the wintry cover. I can't think of what it's called.
Snowland.
I almost pulled that out, and I didn't. I was like, I was like, oh, that would have been so weird if I grabbed that today, but that's just bizarre. Weird coincidence.
in July of all months too.
Yeah, good stuff. Spent some more time with the Rhyme Men. Remember here back on more Buying Rune stuff to plug for Marty, but awesome album. It's what's really cool about Austin's progression is like as he goes along, like the production gets like more and more interesting as it goes on, but he still doesn't lose that like authenticity or heaviness. Like it doesn't like as he explores like better production techniques, like the intensity of his music doesn't diminish, which is really hard to pull off. So really great record, really fun to listen to that today. And yep, that's what I've been spinning.
All right, well, I've kind of restructured my basement a bit. It's just a basement, but the room I'm in's finished off except for the ceiling, and the part where I sit and listen to music's always just been kind of it's a long story, but I rearranged it so it's a lot homier down there. I got some LED lights, and I have just been loving the space. I've been sitting down there pulling out records, spinning old records. I mean, I listened to 6 Black Sabbath records last night. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Night before was like 4 Kiss records. It's just like I'm having a great time. But I've been spinning some other stuff as well. I remember having some Thyrfing. They're a Swedish Viking / pagan metal band, kind of in line with Monogarm a bit. I used to have some of their stuff. I got rid of it. I was digging through my collection, and I found one of the CDs was still in there. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to check this out. So yeah, this is Thyrfing's Vansines Ulfsor. That one with the Travis Smith looking face on the cover. Through this on, I knew it was Viking kind of, pagan-y violins and, the cultural type of addition to the music. And I was pretty blown away how good this record is. It's a really warm production. It's like a calming, warm, full production. I was into it, man. I'm on eBay filling up my shopping cart with stuff that I gave away in the past, like an idiot. But, oh, whose birthday is it? Kevin?
Metal Kev, yeah.
Metal Kev, hey, happy birthday, man. Cheers. But yeah, if Thyrfing, this oddly enough is the highest ranked in the reviews of Metal Archives, which that doesn't mean anything, but yeah, definitely check this out for sure. This has been sitting on the shelf forever. This is a German band, Imperium Decadens, with Dis Manibus. I don't know. But again, this is kind of it's black metal. This is a really good band, and I kind of forgotten how good this band was. I have a couple of their CDs leading up to this. It's funny. It says recommended if you like Death Heaven, Druk, Agalok, Winterfelleth. I don't get the Deaf Heaven on here. I don't know. I don't know if they just threw that Deaf Heaven on there because Deaf Heaven at the time this came out in.
It was 2016, right, or something.
Yeah, 2016.
That's a good album. Yeah.
Yeah, that is an inaccurate hype sticker.
Completely inaccurate. Oh, this band's popular, cool, but yeah, this is actually another kind of mellow. It's a black metal album, but it's more of the mellow. It's like a mellow mid-pace kind of vibe through both discs. This is a 2 LP set, but it's really good, really well done, excellent production, great vocals. There isn't any clean singing or any of that stuff. It's just straight up black metal vocals, really well written, a lot of movement and emotion in it. I was kind of taken with this one. It was a good one for sure. And then Alan a while ago picked up a copy of this for me, Overkill Scorched, the latest from Overkill. And yeah, this is Overkill doing what Overkill does. Nothing new or exciting here, but this is a good record. It seemed like for a while there, Overkill would just kind of put out redundant shit over and over and over again. And my only real complaint with this one, with a lot of the Overkill stuff, is it's a bit long. They could have shaved a few songs off and it'd have been just fine. But man, super good production. The song, Blitz, considering all the shit the guy's been through and the smoking and the stroke on stage and the nasal cancer, all the shit he's gone through, his voice still sounds like Bobby Blitz Ellsworth. Of course, it's kind of when you hear him talk, his talking voice and his singing voice the singing voice isn't that far off the mark from the way he speaks. So I get it, but yeah, enjoy it. This is good stuff. This came out in 2023. I'm sure, man, 2 years. I can't believe there hasn't been a new one yet, but good, solid record. Oh God. Yeah. I went on this big buying binge after the Sabbath concert, the Sabbath farewell, and of stuff I didn't have on vinyl. And that's a whole nother story. I'll save it for one day. I haven't been rambling so much, but yeah, I finally got it. This is actually a good copy. I paid about $30 for it. I'm like, I've got Mob Rules. I got to have Heaven and Hell. It's in great shape. It sounds great. I've heard this album 10 million times, and last night listening to it, I cried. There was a couple moments on this thing that when you get an album that was recorded analog and you're playing it on a record player, it sounds like you're in the damn room with the band. There's just a fullness, a warmth to it. It's just there's no digital processing. There's no digital remaster, produced and engineered by Martin Birch. It felt like I was in the room. I'm hearing like these EBO things that Tony's doing over these quieter parts. It's just beautiful, man. It got me. Shit I've heard a million times. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know. Must be having an existential crisis or something. But what a beautiful album, man. The Dio, I love all the Ozzy stuff, but the Dio, there's something special about that shit. But tonight, we're going to England to talk about the second full-length album by Onslaught. This one's called The Force. It came out in 1986. Under one flag in Europe, and here in the US it came out on Combat. So a little bit of backstory on Onslaught. Onslaught are a British thrash metal band from Bristol, England, active from 1982 to 1991, and they broke up. They reformed in 2005. They reformed. The band initially drew influences from US and British hardcore punk bands such as Discharge and The Exploited. And I tell you what, you listen to their Power from Hell album, it sounds like a crust punk record. It's cool as hell. As well as the new wave of British heavy metal, and eventually adopted a straightforward thrash metal sound. They have been recognized as pioneers of the British thrash metal scene and have also been referred to as one of the country's so-called Big Four, along with Sabbath, Zentrix, and Acid Rain. To date, Onslaught have released 8 studio albums, 1 compilation, 4 singles, and 2 live recordings, a live album, and a live DVD. So yeah, they're back. They're busy, which is great. And listen to a couple of tracks here and there, and they've gotten a lot more aggressive. They're still a thrash band, but it's very modern and very aggressive. It sounds like a completely different band, but they're really good stuff. I have not kept up with them at all, but yeah, tonight, The Force. We're gonna start with Logan. What were your initial impressions? And was this the first time you've heard this record?
Yes, it was.
Oh, we're turning our young boy onto new things, Jim. Isn't that nice?
So exciting, guys. So exciting. It's honestly, it's about time. 80s thrash is kind of comfort food around these parts.
Oh yeah.
It's always cherished, and I've honestly enjoyed it every time it's come up. It's always been a straight shot down the middle kind of album. Whenever there's like an 80s thrash, it's you kind of already know what you're in store for the most part, and this was an ideal example of that. I've had a cursory experience with Power from Hell, which this is definitely not Power from Hell. As Marty said, it's got the punk vibe. I heard a lot, or I hear a lot of Venom in that album, and it definitely sounds like, their countrymen a little bit. This one does not. Like, if you had given, me this album blindfolded without telling me, where they were from, I think I would have gone with an American band for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there were two albums in particular that made me think that I thought of after listening to this for the first time. One of them, Jim actually already mentioned, Hell Awaits. Just the way that the songwriting is kind of laid out. Like, these songs are on the longer side. We're talking like 6 to 7 minutes. They kind of build a little bit like some of the tracks on here. And just the themes and the thematicism that they're playing with is straight out of the Slayer playbook, and then the other one is, of course, Kill 'Em All. So I was thinking of two of the big four right out the gate with this one. Some of the longer songs like No Remorse and The Four Horsemen were kind of what came to mind hearing some of the tracks, on the Force. And I mean, if it's making me think of like these perfect albums, that's not a bad thing. I mean, I can't complain about that. So I was definitely looking forward to diving further in. To kind of highlight what specifically stood out from this album initially, it was definitely the guitar work. Absolutely. The guitar solos and just the tight rhythm work. Like, it's a very rhythm forward album to me.
A lot of palm muted crunching, but there's a lot of movement in the riffs. It's really catchy. It's a catchy ass record.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first thing that jumped out. So I was basically expecting another successful week of tutelage from Marty and Jim's School of Thrash. So cheers, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had to get a thrash record in there. I didn't want Jim to steal all the thrash glory.
Well, you picked a good one, Marty, because this one I wasn't very familiar with. My Onslaught experience is In Search of Sanity. I came on with them in '89 with Steve Grimmett at the helm on vocals from Grim Reaper.
And I've never heard that record.
Oh,
I've got a single. I've got the Shell Shock single, and that's all I've heard.
We're on opposite ends of the spectrum, and so this is your record, that one's mine. So, so I knew Steve wasn't on this one. I knew that was the only one he's on, but he's definitely, a favorite UK vocalist of mine. So,
shit, yeah,
and he's awesome. So Cy Keeler does not compare on the vocal range side. Like his vocals were a little his kind of like off key screams were a little off putting to me at first, kind of distracting. But I liked his like non scream vocal. You know what I mean? Like he had a great great thrash voice over the verses and stuff like that.
Evil and evil.
Yeah. Though I think I like Moe's vocals on Power from Hell better. I think out of the three, you know what I mean, like that, those three records, like that's the vocals I like the most. But what was interesting was subsequent listens, like I got used to it, you know what I mean, and I ended up really liking his voice. I still think he goes a little too far, like on Demoniac. Like it's just like the crazy screams the whole time, and that one's a little tough for me to swallow. But after multiple listens, it didn't bother me as much. I just kind of just like went with it. Riff wise, it's great. I definitely get what you guys are saying, that there's like that American thrash thing going on there. It isn't so bad. I think on In Search of Sanity, like it really became about the Bay Area scene. On there's a lot of Bay Area love on that record. I think they still kind of have their own voice riff wise on this record, and so that's kind of awesome. and I like the speed and intensity of this record, the fast tempos, and I think that's one edge that this album has over In Search of Sanity. In Search of Sanity is like mid tempo all the way through. Even though I love that record, I love the solos, I love Steve's voice. Like it gets a little, as you're listening to the whole record after a while, you're kind of like, it kind of gets a little samey by the time you get like to the last few tracks. But when it's like pounding and aggressive, like it is here on The Force, it kind of kept me interested. It kept me intrigued. And even the mid tempo songs had enough like energy and variety going on that, it kept me, ready for the next spin around. And yeah. This album, it won me over. Like I said, for me, this was like, going from Steve to Cy Keeler was kind of like going backwards for me vocally. Because I wasn't very familiar with this record. I think I maybe heard like one or two songs like years ago, but like I said, once I got into multiple spins, I got used to it, and it punched through its killer thrash.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think back when I heard this for the first time. I just have so many great memories attached to this album, and I always just thought of it as Onslaught, and and I did always think there was a Metallica influence, like Logan pointed out, but spinning it this week and paying a little bit more attention, other than just living in the nostalgia of the album, I could not unhear Show No Mercy all over this. Little Demoniac has got like this riff that just sounds like it was taken from Show No Mercy, and but that doesn't detract from my enjoyment of the album. The UK scene has got a definite influential ear when it comes to American thrash. But hearing the album again and listening to it a lot this week, it hasn't diminished for me. I still put it on, and it takes me. It's so well done. The crunch riffs are typically. I consider them just, palm muted crunch riffs. They could be so just kind of milk toast, but they throw a lot of movement and motion in these riffs. The verse riffs by themselves are very memorable. And the way Cy sings on it, it's those high pitched squeals. He's totally going for the Tom Araya. It's totally Tom Araya, the high pitch. It's totally Slayer, but the verse, the way he's singing through the verses, there's a mean grit in his voice. It sounds, he sounds like a demonic priest or something overseeing a congregation, telling, there's a bit of a stateliness to the way he presents some of the lyrics, which I think is really cool. And he's not a Steve Grimmett caliber vocalist. It's just really funny how through the course of one album, they switched completely different directions vocally, at least. They went maybe from Slayer to Metallica more, but from Cy Keeler to Steve Grimmett, there's like day and night. But first impression of this record, it blew me away then, and I still love the hell out of this thing. That's why I picked it tonight. And I have a question in this. I'm sorry, it's such a long setup for such a small payoff on this question, so just bear with me. The UK has given metal and other musical genres a wealth of groundbreaking and influential bands and music over the decades. Though bands like Venom set a high bar for evil and aggressive metal to take hold, thrash metal didn't start to secure organization until the end of the 80s, where bands like Acid Rain and Zentrix didn't release their debut albums until 1989. And Sabbath, their debut album came out in 88, which what's happening at this point? Death metal's coming in, right? I mean, they're late to the game. Add this to the fact that said bands shared an undeniable American thrash influence. It felt like it was a scene that was living on borrowed time. Though Onslaught did get started a bit earlier and hit at the right time, their style of metal possessed a definite crust punk foundation until The Force landed in 86, where the band shared their revamped and more aggressive take on Show No Mercy. Oh my God, sorry. Punk has always felt like the heart of the UK, from Venom to Sacrilege, Napalm Death, Bolt Thrower, Carcass. Yet the Thrashers found inspiration elsewhere. Do you think they should have continued to nurture their English punk roots to achieve a more potent identity? The thrash scene. I'm talking about the thrash scene here. Who wants to go first? Sorry for the humongous setup for such a small, stupid question. Jim, we'll start with you. Logan seems to be pondering. So,
do I think they should have continued to nurture their punk roots? That's.
I'm not saying just Onslaught. I'm saying you listen to the grind. The grind. They're so influenced by punk, and grind from the UK is influential. The new wave of British heavy metal. It kind of feels like it came from the streets,
Right.
And then you get like Venom. Venom is a metalized punk band. I'll live and die by that statement. You listen to that early shit, it sounds like a metalized punk band.
I would say that my personal preference is, when we're talking about UK, thrash or death thrash or crusty thrash, like, Sacrilege, which was pretty much like proto death, / Bolthor. That crusty / punk influence is like the albums from the 80s in the UK that were not like, straight death metal. It is the ones that have that sort of like rawness and edge, that, that punky edge that I like, the most, So I do, see what you're saying there, but I kind of, I don't fault the UK scene for leaning more into, the thrash a little bit, because, there's great records that come out of it, like, like this one, so it's hard for me to say that. I don't want to, like, kind of sling mud at them, maybe moving away from it, to your point, but I will say that when I reach for, this era, like, that is what I'm reaching for. I'm reaching for Venom. I'm reaching for Sacrilege, and like I just said earlier, like, out of these 3 records, listening to them this week, that this triumvirate of Onslaught, Power from Hell, The Force, and In Search of Sanity, for me, it's, I kind of liked Power from Hell the most. Yeah.
It's a great record. It's a great record.
Vocally, I like
this one's my first one though, so that's where I land on.
Yeah. And In Search of Sanity was my first one, but my taste now, like, when I listen, because I want to listen to it all the way through, I was definitely hearing like almost too much Metallica in the riffs. Now they did some like cool like flourishes and stuff on that record over the riffs, and some weird kind of guitar phrasings that made it more unique, but some of the riffs were almost kind of like lifts off of Master of Puppets, and where I felt like that's sort of just like a truly underground sounding record like Power from Hell, like to my taste nowadays, like has that great appeal. But like, but I'm okay with, the moving away from that, because, we wouldn't have records like, The Force, if they weren't embracing that, and Sabbath, or, we were just talking about, I don't get any sort of crusty punk thing from them at all, but they're awesome, man. They're amazing. It's
nothing.
Yeah,
they're kind of different from the other bands that they're lumped in with.
Yeah, both their records,
they're more European sounding, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely has a European feel, and so, and I think that would have completely, for that band, it would have detracted for them to kind of embrace, that raw scene of what came before into their sound, and just having more of a just kind of a Middle Ages sort of, clean and polished, but still super evil, tonality of their music, came from a different, place, I think, entirely, and still made for some good music. So that may be too much of a diplomatic answer for you there, Marty. But yeah,
I'm not fishing for anything here. I just struggle to put a question together.
No. Well,
and we've talked about this a lot on the channel too. So.
Yeah, it's a good one though, because I because it's challenging, me to say one way or the other, because even though I typically reach for that, I'm not going to sit here and say the other way, because Sabbath, man, come on.
Yeah. All right, Logan.
All right, I'll be less diplomatic. I'm going to just say no. I think it's fine that, and as far as the thrash scene as a whole, I'll have a different answer for Onslaught in a second. But as far as the UK thrash scene, I think it's fine that they kind of try to just take what thrash was, because thrash was already well established. Like, they had essentially missed the boat because the whole scene was still kind of recovering or obsessed with what New Album was. That's what it seems like to me in the rear view. And by the time that it recovers, they've already lost the arms race to other things in the UK scene, like grindcore. Napalm Death was already kind of exploding. Carcass was basically about to take off within the next year or two, and death metal then was just barreling along. And I think I actually like Devin's comment earlier. He mentioned that a lot of the punk bands end up leaning towards and actually taking on that thrash sound.
Absolutely.
That,
Well,
you know,
GBH and the Exploited both did, you know.
Yep, and he mentioned English Dogs as well. And I
Yep.
don't remember the exact album, but there's one that is definitely a great example.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of let the UK still have, like, let's try the thrash sound. Let's be thrash. Let's, take this. And you know what? It's okay that the United Kingdom didn't have a solid take on what thrash metal was that was wholly their own. They had a lot of other big genres that were wholly their own, They got a lot of stuff in their pocket. Let's let the other, continents and countries have a claim in them for metal fame, and America can have the thrash sound, and Germany, and even Brazil. As far as Onslaught goes, I do think it could have helped with maybe their identity just a little bit more, and making them seem a bit more like a coherent band throughout their album, their catalog. I haven't heard In Search of Sanity or whatever, the one with Steve Grimmett, but it sounds like it's another different sounding album, not quite comparable. And I know Power from Hell definitely is. Like, it doesn't quite sound like a different band entirely, but far enough apart that I don't think you can, like, clearly map the trajectory outside of, like, oh, there's a new singer and this is what the singer can do, That being said, just hearing about how many people are huge fans of this album and, the next one, it still seems like it worked out in their favor that they stuck with this sound and kind of try to plant their flag in other influences and from other countries and stuff. So, yeah, I'm gonna just say no for that. I think it turned out well it didn't turn out well, but it is what it is, and there are good UK thrash albums out there.
It's interesting. We talk about, bands wanting to find an identity, and Onslaught is one of those bands. Their first 4 albums, every album sounds different. I mean, other than shuffling your lineup drastically, how does that happen? I don't. It's weird. Like we talked about, going from Psy to Steve Grimmett, it's such a drastic change. But sticking with a question, it's interesting. I did a show with Metal Mickey. He's an English guy, and we each had to pick 2 albums for each of us to listen to try to change our mind on whatever. He picked the second Mordred album, which I'm just not into the funky stuff. But he also picked the first Zentrix, Shattered Existence, which I was excited to hear because the only other Zentrix I ever heard was the Ghostbusters cassette single, which terrible, absolutely terrible cover of Ghostbusters. Come on. But I was blown away. There was, like, that band glommed onto the Testament sound. I mean, it was like notes, almost note for note Testament riffs. It sounded like I was listening to the New Order, except a little bit different. And it kind of blows me away how, without the proliferation of the internet to transfer information, how England, being so close to Europe, found appreciation in the American sound, where they, why isn't there a bunch of English bands that sound like Creator, But as far as the punk sound goes, I'm rambling around. Sorry, everybody. It's a woulda, coulda, shoulda, or what if? It's hard to gauge it. But if you listen to Power from Hell, I mean, I listen to that album and I'm thinking of other, crust bands like Extinction of Mankind, and it sounds like a crust record. And I think it's awesome. I think it's a great record. And do they ever get credit for coining the phrase death metal? They have a song where they, why not? But I don't know. I think it probably would have done them. It really worked well for the grind scene. The grind, they focused on their punk roots. They made it 10 times faster, and look what happened there. I mean, 99% of those bands, well, other than Bolt Thrower, they're still out and around doing stuff. And Acid Rain reformed. I think Zentrix reformed. I mean, they're coming back, but it's just too little, too late, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know how it would have changed stuff. I don't know if I want the Force to sound more punk. I really like the way it sounds. I think it's a great album. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to have a little bit of holdover from Power from Hell, just to hear mixed in, maybe a few less Slayer riffs, and see what that would have came out like. But to answer my own question, I'm going to say no to. I'm going to say no to, because it is what it is, and I think the grind scene did that and got it right, and it would have. I don't know if the UK thrash scene would have got as much mileage. I don't know. It's hard to say. So I posed a question and I came and answered myself. What were we going to say, Logan?
They were already kind of late, and then
Yeah.
that big 4 you mentioned. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Acid Rain that good?
They're okay.
They're okay. All
right. The thing of it is, like Mike Metal Mickey, he loves Zentrix. He loves Acid Rain, and the people on the island love their thrash. They love it. So, great, awesome. I mean, you have fans in your home country. That's amazing. Let's discuss the musicality and composition of the Force. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, they jumped light years ahead from the debut on this one for sure. Like, just look at the song lengths and the tightness of the guitar playing. Like, it really almost sounds like a different guitar players as well, but it's not, right? It's the same, I believe, the same guitar. It's just a different vocalist, and even the songwriting sounds, incredibly different, a bit more evenly paced. I will say I ended up having a tough time. Like, the first impression was a good one. And then when I was diving into the album a little bit more on like the second through like fifth listens, I was starting to get lost in like, oh, they just sound like another band, or having a tough time picking out like enjoyable elements. I was like, oh yeah, this is the Onslaught sound. It sounded a little bit on like, this is the generic definition of what thrash was in 1986. Like I got past it because the rhythm work is phenomenal. I think that's one of the highlights of the album for me, because you really do notice there's a lot of intricate passages that are going on. And one of the things that I initially was hung up on is how long some of these rhythm passages go. Like, it'll be like a minute and a half of just like the rhythm guitar playing without any like crazy lead work or anything like that. Like, what are we doing? Are we leading to something? But then you do hear it's pretty intricate, and like you kind of just get into the vibe with it, and it all around is still such a fast album that I don't think you notice as much just how long some of these sections are, because it is moving at a pretty fast pace, and they really don't let their foot off the gas. So at 44 minutes, I don't think it feels like a 44-minute album. I mean, it still feels like on the longer, like 38 to 40-minute side, but
agreed. It doesn't drag it for me anyway. Of course, I'm so used to it. But
seven songs, I think, helps too. I think if they had an eighth one, I probably would have started to notice a bit more. But yeah, so the rhythm was good. But then the lead work, whenever the lead guitar would jump in and do a guitar solo, I was always impressed. Just very much like dive bombs on one solo, and then the next one would be a bit more melodic and would build this like motif and like a climactic finish to a song. So there was a lot of really cool dynamic solo work and lead work overall. And that's when I realized that these songs being like 7 minutes long allow for a bit of that like thematic payoff, where you're building to the climax of Metal Forces, for example. I think that's the one that ends on this like really cool melodic guitar solo. Really tight tempo changes too, and that's what made me think of Slayer a little bit, like that Demoniac song. Marty, you and I might be similar to that. That's a favorite of mine because of it'll just shift tempo on a dime, and it'll go into the chorus, which sounds like this dive, like it's diving down to hell kind of Slayer vibe to it. And yeah, that's a highlight. The vocally, I like the guy's vocals. Definitely Tom Araya. I hear him almost hitting like King Diamond-esque a little bit, and it makes me think of Merciful Fate at times, like that opening to Flame of the Antichrist, and just some of the more melodic passages make me think of Merciful Fate, kind of. Just cool little flourishes that I think add to the album overall. I admit I'm still not sure if they have such a unique style that I'm like, fully on board with the Onslaught sound. Like, I looked at all the other like thrash albums that we've talked about since I've been around these parts, and Rigor Mortis was a highlight, and they had like this like sloppy horror fueled like pell mell. They just throw shit at the wall. It'd be a blast, and that felt like they're a unique package, And then Dead Brain Cells was another one, very much like a bit cleaner, more technical, and impressive. And that self-titled album was such a energetic, punky blast of energy. And in this one, it doesn't quite have I can't put a unique like identity to it yet. So that's still somewhat of a drawback for me. And it feels somewhat bland in comparison to the other ones, but it is still just a solid slab of thrash for 1986. Like they're checking all the right boxes, and this still lived up to being a just comfort food level thrash album that I could easily enjoy. So
you talk about identity, where it sits. One place it could sit, it's very evil.
It is.
I mean, in that time and place, thrash was going very social and political, especially in the U.S. Bands like Slayer weren't, but eventually they would. But I don't know.
See, I didn't think of that. I thought like, well, Slayer already has the evil side of sound, so they're like doing the Slayer thing a little bit, but it is different enough though from the Slayer sound that they're not like literally playing Hell Awaits. And I think Slayer immediately in 1986 did Rain and Blood, which is an entirely different sounding album. So yeah, I could see that.
It's a different kind of evil. It's like human atrocity type evil stuff. Yeah. All right, Jim, your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. Logan, you're doing the Slayer comparison. For me, I really riff wise, like I didn't hear really Slayer riff wise. Like I heard it more in like vocal rhythm. You know what I mean? Like Contract in Blood for me, like the vocal rhythm of that is very similar to Captor of Sin, which came out a couple of years before. And there's a couple other moments on there where it sounds like a vocal rhythm, like Marty was alluding to Show No Mercy. Like I heard vocal rhythms similar to some songs on Show No Mercy in terms of like how he layered his vocal over the riff, But riff wise, I think it was more, definitely early American thrash, but also like a tiny little bit of destruction there. Like I heard that on Fight with the Beast. About 2 minutes in, there's a riff that's like more like that kind of string, kind of like string note kind of riff that early Destruction had a lot of, like, and which also that happens to be that and Flame of the Antichrist, and spoiler alert, are my favorite songs on this.
Yeah, that's one of mine too. Yeah,
I love those two on here, and because where I think this band is at their best is when they just pummel the hell out of you with just skank beats and tremolo picking. And, either like finish out that way, don't give you a break, or come into, like Marty said earlier, when these guys change tempo and go into like a palm muted style riff, it just isn't boring. It doesn't feel played out. Like something about their style, their darkness they have around it. It may even be like there's this little bit of like a chorus on the guitar, just a tiny little bit of chorus effect. It's really mostly noticeable on one song in particular. It actually, yeah, it is Fight with a Beast in here. I'm looking at my notes again. But all of that sort of kind of congeals into this like really just darker feel. And so it's like, it isn't like a fun mosh. It's more like we're having a unholy seance kind of mosh. We're banging our head in a circle of pentagrams and candles. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. You know what I mean? I don't know how they pull it off, but they really do. I think most of the songs on this record, they have a great balance of that sort of riff style, where they're going from like, faster to mid tempo. The only time where I think it like the composition falls a little flat for me is actually on the intros of the very first song, Let There Be Death, like that. They play that sort of this sort of like mid tempo riff over like this kind of rolling drum beat way too long before the song gets going. Like it just kind of, I start kind of like getting bored, but then when it gets fast, it's awesome. So it's like, oh man, and the song kicks in. I'm like, oh, that's what I've been waiting for. I knew it was coming,
Yeah.
But I found myself, on multiple listens on Let There Be Death, like just waiting for that fast part to come. I wish they either would have went right into that or played that sort of succession of these like slow to mid tempo riffs leading it up to it a little bit shorter. So a little bit of editing there, I think, would have went a long way for them on that. But that's really the only song where I felt like, they needed some editing here. That's the only, they needed to kind of like pull it back a little bit lengthwise, because to Marty's point earlier, these, and Logan's as well, these are long songs, but they don't feel that way, and that's great. When you play 6 minutes and you're not boring your listener, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And so they're bringing that aggression, Cy Keeler's like, I may not be a fan of his screams and stuff, but his main vocal, his main voice is powerful. He enunciates very well, super fun to like scream along with. I mean, thrashing metal screams. I mean, thrash till death. I mean, anybody who watches this show knows anytime someone says the words metal or thrash, like when you say those words in your songs, like I love you for that. I love you forever. Like, yes, don't be afraid to say the word metal, you bastards. And so I love thrash that does that kind of thing. And he's all over it here. Just like great, super evil lyrics all the way around. So yeah. And so all, and they have this one thing cool I want to call out as well. As we're talking about musicality, is they have a lot of these like hammer-on style riffs, where they're kind of like, they're kind of just like hammering on to the riff on the guitar and backing that up with some tremolo picking and stuff. And I love that combination. Like it's really cool. It's not just power chords. It breaks it up. It keeps the energy flowing. So kudos to them. You can see as you listen to their albums, they kind of push themselves in technically a little bit more, a little bit lower, a little more every record. Not too much. These guys aren't going to be mistaken for tech thrash or anything, but they're also capable as well. And it's really cool, hearing them and realizing they're pushing the boundaries of their capabilities. They're trying new things, and you can really, as you listen to the three 80s records back to back, you can hear that progression. So it's really nice to see that, and so yeah. Musicality and composition, yeah, just couple minor editing here and there, but for the most part, I think they do a great job.
I agree, great job. And musicality, composition, the songwriting on here is really rock solid. But really isn't. With longer songs, you think there would be filler, but like I said, we don't really get any song fatigue on this record, and part of that is attributed to very catchy choruses. It isn't just the name of the song. There's actually a feel, a hook in the chorus, which is, you go listen to like Zombie Attack by Tankard, the first Tankard record. The chorus is the name of the song 4 times. This here, there's actually, there's a chunk of words in there. There's movement. There's sometimes a melody line like Flame of the Antichrist. He actually sings a bit on that. He strips away some of the grit and actually has to, the way the riff opens up and is just feeling more atmospheric, he has to sing in it. And it gives each song its own characteristic, which is very cool. And the palm muted crunches, like I said, it could be a thing that gets kind of tedious and boring, but they do it in such a way they were thinking ahead. They're like, we're not just going to crunch on this E. There's going to be a riff here. We're just going to palm mute the whole thing. And I think that's cool shit. And the fact that Psy's vocals are unique enough and he enunciates really well, like Jim said, and God, it's something burning my eyes. It's driving me crazy. It really gives this music a lot of character, even though Jim didn't hear it, but there's it's a Slayer riff. It sounds it's like a rearranged Slayer riff. They're more so in the beginning of the album than the ending of the album. But yeah, I don't know. They struck a good balance here in their songwriting. They don't bore the listener. They keep their choruses very, very energetic and memorable. And that is the key to a very successful album, if you can maintain that throughout. Let's talk about the production. Logan.
The production. Let me see.
You want to take care of the cat, and I'll have Jim go first.
Let me just take care of. No, it's all good. Here we go. Through him. Solid 80s thrash production, man. You can definitely tell it's from 1986. It's not pristine. It has the right amount of bite and grime to it. The absolute highlight, just like it is for the whole sound of the album, is the guitars. I think. I mean, the mixing and the placement of it, the guitars are perfect. Like the rhythms, for example, just right in the middle. They got a nice crunch to them, and you can really tell when they do add a little chug. There's a little extra, force to it as well. But I think how the solos produced might be my favorite production part of the album. They sound like red hot when they come in. Like, I mean, to me, that's another thing that made me think of Slayer. A lot of these solos do drop in like the Kerry King style.
The dive bomb. Yeah.
The dive bomb.
Bombs away.
Pop out. I mean, they don't do that all the time, which is, I think, a big plus for Onslaught. They're varying the solo styles, but some of the songs will, open up with just the lead or the rhythm, and then the solo will come in and just feel like a lightning strike to the song. It's a cool touch, and I think the production puts it just at the right amount. I also like that you can hear both guitars going. We got 2 guitars here, and one is not necessarily lost in the mix overall. Like, even when the lead guitar is doing his Kerry King moment solo, you can still hear the rhythm, like, laying down some like more simpler chord, progressions to help push and force the music forward and upward with the solo. So the fact that you can hear that and it's not lost is a great plus to me. And also, when I started to get more into the rhythm playing is when I started to focus on what the 2 different guitars were doing. And I think the production does a good job of kind of allowing both space to breathe. And then the vocals are, I think, produced pretty well. They're not in front of the music. They're actually, to me, kind of a little behind. His range is so loud and feels like it should be up front that it really doesn't need to be. He's going to cut through the shrapnel regardless. It's just the fact that they give the rest of the band some space from his, falsetto Arias screams and his regular verse vocals, I think, is a big plus for the album overall. So It does feel dark too. Like one of the coolest moments on the album is definitely Flames of the Antichrist, that opening. That
Oh,
was
it's
so
so
cool
evil.
how that
It's so
fucking comes
cool.
in. That was
Yeah.
like that's a highlight, and I think the production nailed that, like almost warm like keyboard like ebb and flow, you know, the rising of the force. So that's a highlight. The rhythm section is a little kind of just there. Like I do like the bass. The bass is, you know, well played and you can hear it, so it's good. Same with the drums. I will say about the drummer's performance, and this could go into the musicality. He's not the most exciting drummer. He feels like he's right in the pocket and he just kind of stays there, and he doesn't do a lot of like,
Good
he
timing.
doesn't have a lot of personality. He just keeps the timing, and
Yeah.
he plays very well, but doesn't make like it his own, if that makes sense. But production wise, I think they're both good. So I guess I really have no complaints with the production. I will say, and maybe it was my Spotify, album, but there were a couple moments in one of the songs, "Fight with the Beast," where like the guitar would fade in and out, and it was all warbly and weird. So that might have be just the Spotify riff.
I noticed that too.
You did? Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was just for the Spotify or if that carried through from an initial mastering or whatever, but that is really my only complaint. So,
Jim.
That's weird. I wonder if that's what I was getting, that sort of chorus effect thing I was alluding to earlier, but it makes it sound kind of weird in a good way. There is one part on the recording I had where it sounded almost like the tape was getting eaten, but I was like, well, this is digital, so what the hell's going on here?
They probably ripped it from a tape.
Yeah, something like that. But no, production, like, yeah, man, it reminds me of Destruction in that it's like higher frequency heavy. Like it's got a lot of highs in it, but it kind of adds to like the evilness of this. You know what I mean? Kind of like how a super high frequency raw black metal record. Also, it just adds to the evil. It adds to the darkness. So that doesn't bother me at all. I do like that. The guitars are super upfront like that. I think it gives a full thrash feel that way, and then also the guitars being like kind of like my favorite thing about the record. Other than the killer like metal anthemic type lyrics. Again, let's thrash till death. The only thing that I wish I could hear the bass more. Like I had to listen for it. I had to put my work in ear wise to like hear it. Like for me, it just wasn't. And I did try it on different headphones and stuff. And each one, like it's not like it wasn't there, but it didn't. Like I had to listen for rather than just always being present for me. So it didn't have enough. I wish it had more presence overall, but that's not really atypical for an album from this era and in this style. So, just a minor criticism really. The drums, like, yeah, I hear what Logan's saying. Yeah, pretty much straightforward. And in fact, on that, like probably like one of my least favorite moments of the record is like the long intro on Let There Be Death, like before they get to the good stuff. His timing actually kind of, when he plays slower, not when he plays fast, but on that really long intro thing that's from like almost 2 minutes long, he kind of slows down and then catches back up to himself again. Just a little off. But hey, man, this is way before the era of click tracks and all that. And man, I gotta tell you, I'd rather hear the human factor than perfection anyway. So I actually was kind of like, yeah, man, the real deal, we did it in one take, baby. I'm good with it.
You got to think too, this era, bands trying to play fast like this, they're not playing blast beats. They're doing that double kicks and just playing faster. And some of it was a little bit outside of some of these guys' abilities. On the Massacre albums we covered, I mean,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
You could tell he was struggling hard to hit those speeds,
Definitely. But I love that stuff anyway. And and in his defense, like, no, I think he's awesome on the fast. It's only that one slow part, the one that I think should have been edited. But But no, production wise, I think it's really, really cool. And there are moments on the record where he does the the good old metal tom hits like dun, dun, like on Contract in Blood. And I think the production on those toms is like just perfect. It's pure metal. It brings you into it. It adds to the heaviness. So yeah, no complaints here, except a little bit more bass would have been nice, but it doesn't detract from the record overall.
Yeah, for me, the standout is the guitar sound. I really like the guitar sound. It sounds really full and mean. There's like a chorus on the guitar, something to fill it out. But yet when there's like a part where it's just one guitar playing, it sounds like it's all stripped away and really kind of weird, kind of plunky. But then when it all comes in together, the way it's layered, it just sounds big and evil, I think, but polished. There's like an attempt at a more produced sound here, but it works really well. And I like the way they're mixed. And I also really like how Psy's vocals kind of sit on top of not too much, but it's more on top, lording over the music. And it really it feels like a thrash record in that respect. The drums, there's a bit of reverb on them. They get washed a little bit, but they just makes them sound so mean. You're not hearing a bunch of really cool, Dave Lombardo type of fills going on here. He's just plodding along, keeping the timing. But I just really like the way this sounds. It's produced, but it's not overproduced to the fact where it's sounding like a commercial like a Testament record. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't sound like Practice What You Preach. It sounds more like, I don't know. If you take Melissa mixed with Show No Mercy and put a little Dark Angel into a blender, that's kind of the production or the sound they were going for on this, I guess. But I really like the production. I think it still feels underground, but it has enough polish and sheen that you can get the full experience of what they're trying to do. Let's talk about least favorite songs. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a even keeled album all the way through. There are really no least favorites. I mean, most songs have a similar goal and feel and kind of structure, really. A lot of them will do like the, intro build up, and then we'll get into just the very rhythm driven kind of song with like the actual chorus and just a kind of a cool, unique moment in each individual song. So there's no misses on here for sure. There are definitely some hits for me though. I do enjoy Let There Be Death. I think that's a great opener. I like the intro. That is one of those moments though where I'm kind of with you, Jim, where it's like, okay, it's been 2 minutes. What are we doing here, guys? We're still building it up, but I think it's such a cool intro, and
told you, only a matter of time.
Snake.
It's only a matter of time. They're finding a way to get in there, kill that damn thing.
It lives another day. Let's see. Yeah, there's a snake over there.
They're both looking at it like, hey, we can work together as a team here.
It's my worst
You
nightmare.
distract the human, I'll get the lid off. We will eat good tonight.
Thank God cats can't work together. We'd all be dead. Let There Be Death is just, I think, a great opener song. It's a good balance of everything. Like, it does have like the cool solo right in the beginning, and then just cool chorus as well. Yeah, great musicianship across the board. For me, Metal Forces and Fight with the Beast are another like two very good examples of what Onslaught does well. But my real two highlights following up the opening song are Demoniac and Flame of the Antichrist. Those are the most evil sounding songs to me, and really where I do think Onslaught does come into their own identity. We were talking about that earlier. That's when I do feel like, oh, this is the Onslaught sound. It's like repetitious, evil, I still get Hell Awaits, but taking what Hell Awaits did and maybe making it a bit more, ritualistic sounding. So I think Demoniac is my favorite on the album. It has the most tempo changes, and I just like the drop into the chorus, and just the whole choral arrangement I think is awesome. The do what thou wilt, Sacred Law, Church of Hell. It's great satanic stuff. Flames of the Antichrist, already mentioned that the intro makes the song, and then
the intro and the chorus.
In the chorus, to me, the best vocal performance is on that one, and then on Demoniac. So those are like his best vocals for me. Contract in Blood is good, and I don't remember Thrash Till Death as well as I feel like I should, because it's only like 4 minutes. It's like
the fastest song on the album.
Outro. So
they went out with a burner,
yeah. But
you should. On the power of metal, we thrive, man.
I got to get on that gym bandwagon. The chorus is just Thrash Till Death. That sounds awesome. I'll let Jim talk about that one then. So. Good stuff though all around.
All right, Jim.
Yeah, man, my favorites, Fight with the Beast, and Flame of the Antichrist. I like how on the verses, as opposed to all the other songs that are like open chord, like almost like hardcore, is like like that. They're not palm muting, they're not playing tremolos. The riffs on the verses are open chord, played fast, which is really cool, different. That's the one I kind of feel like there's like almost a chorus effect on the rhythm guitar. It's fast, it's punishing. The intro riff reminds me of something that could have been off Killing's My Business that came out just like maybe a year earlier, if that. There's 2 minutes in, a perfectly awesome headbanging style riff. It's great, just down-picked badassery. And then after that it gets a little like there's a little bit of a destruction thing going on, and there's a moment where one guitar is doing palm muting and the other one's doing another riff, and they pan. The guitars are panned, and it makes a really cool effect. Like I love it. When one guitar is doing one thing, the other is doing another, but also you get that stereo effect when they pan those different riffs, and so it has a really cool effect. So everything really comes together for me on Fight with the Beast. Like the production choices, the sounds, the riffs, the intensity. Just everything. I think it's just really emblematic of like Onslaught at their best. So that song is awesome. Flame of the Antichrist, yeah, man, we talked about it. The intro is amazing. The tolling bells, the evil choir synths, something that's so easy to do now. It's it's in GarageBand. You can whatever you could but back then it's a little bit harder to find the right keyboard tones in '86. To make something sound evil. So when these guys do it, it really works and gives the effect that they were going for. He does that cool old school pounding on the toms here in this song, just like he does in Contract of Blood, which I'm always a sucker for that. I love that stuff. I think it's just a pure metal trope that never gets old for me. Another great riff that comes in like near the end of the song. Vocals here kind of like, this is another song where the vocal rhythm kind of reminds me of something that Slayer would do. Like it reminded me of Kill Again a little bit. Kind of partially what inspired me to play Hell Awaits tonight. Or this
subconsciously, you've been listening to Slayer all week. You're like, I'm in the mood for Slayer.
Yeah. For me, it's not riff wise. It's just some vocal rhythms. Thrash Till Death, what a great closer. Just pure, fast, pure thrash metal abandon. Great, anthemic, metal lyrics in that one. Just it's the way you want to close a thrash record. It's a perfect closer. So yeah, just awesome. So for me, it's like, I think the album gets stronger as it goes along. I like, with it, Fight with the Beast is earlier, but yeah, I really like that whole run. The only exception, I have the complete opposite feeling than Logan on Demoniac. The best thing about that to me is the organ intro. I don't like that open one string riff that kind of comes after the organs, and then it's like a mid-tempo thrash thing. There's a lot of those off-key screams like that was one I can do without. I that's the one song on this record like I just don't care anything for. It's a skipper for me. But every other song, really strong. They all have great moments. I can even deal with the long intro from Let There Be Death because the awesomeness that comes after that intro, that ladder the last 2/3 of that first song are super strong. And Metal Forces, thrashing metal screams. I mean, come on, awesome, dude. So yeah, good stuff all the way around. But yeah, for me, like the top two are definitely Fight with the Beast and Flame with the Antichrist.
All right. Let me get this squared away here. Let me look at my notes here. My two favorite songs on here are Fight with the Beast. I'm sorry, Flame of the Antichrist and Contract in Blood. And it's like the 1-2 punch on those songs. Flame of the Antichrist, I really love it. That truly evil sounding build up with the creepy synth line and then these creepy, excellent crunch riffs. It just sounds so malevolently regal. It's very cool. The chorus, it's a little bit atypical for the rest of the album because there's a bit of melody in it, forcing Psy to smooth out his barking vocal style to accommodate the hook before ending on that soaring scream. I love it. Yeah, awesome movement in this. God, the chorus was that lightning strikes the knell of death, panic runs below. God, it's just so good, so good. Contract and Blood follows it up. I love the flow of these headbangable riffs. It's a bit more choppy in the movement of this one, but it's very catchy because of it. Another super catchy chorus slides in perfectly and truly sells the song. I think it's kind of a patient but a well-written track. But the opener, Let There Be Death, there's this riff at the 4-minute 30-second mark. It's got this chaotic thing going on. There's like a melodic dissonance, like they're pulling it. I don't know what the hell they're doing on it, but it sounds like demons laughing. And it is such an awesome highlight to this song that they don't really drop on you until like the 4:30 mark. And it's such a cool riff. And they do a variation of it throughout the album here and there. It gives the guitarist a bit of an identity in their riff writing. Metal Forces, this is the one with the lead off track. It sounds like it was lifted directly from Slayer's Show No Mercy. Although it's a catchy, distinct, and a tasteful guitar work. They never lose sight of memorable song building, which is cool. Yeah, Fight with the Beast, another favorite for sure. Palm muted crunches opens up into spacious and soaring riff for the verse. That bearing the mark of a demon from hell, a dragon is cast onto the earth. Wow. It's such a classic line, and it's an endlessly memorable track. The funny thing is, you read Venom lyrics, it's such tongue-in-cheek Satanism. It just is. In this here, there's some of that too, but the lyrics are kind of smart. There's like some pretty intricate, cool ideas presented in kind of a different way, which is very interesting. It sells the evil. Although you look at these guys, they don't necessarily look evil. In fact, someone should have told them no smiling on band photos. There's just no smiling. Yeah, Demoniac is another Slayer derived banger to my ears anyway. The pre-chorus riff reminds me of I couldn't, if it was Fight to Death or Die by the Sword. I couldn't put my finger on which one it was. Then they go into more of a crunch fueled attack for verses that feels more like their own characteristic in songwriting. And they're good at this palm muted crunching thing. They're really good at it. They're just so catchy. And yep, Thrash Till Death, fastest song on the album. It's a fierce and bludgeoning track for sure, but I have no dislikes on the album. I like every song. And again, it boils down to smart transitions, well-written crunch riffs, and a chorus that helps sell the song. Judgment, final thoughts. Logan.
Yeah, this ended up being a win for me for sure. There was a middle area where I wasn't sure if I was going to actually click with the album fully, and I was just going to hover around like that 7.5 of a rating range. Just I don't know. I was waiting for as I said, the identity to kind of come out a bit more, and like some of the songs to open up and be, a bit more hooky and demanding. But it definitely got there. I would say around listen 5, 6, definitely 7. I was all on board, and I do like the flow of the album, and I think it just ends on a very strong note. It opens to me strong, and then it ends even stronger, especially with like the second half. Let's see. I do think this fits perfectly well for 1986. And if you're looking for like the ideal perfect thrash album from this year, this could be it. It fits all the stereotypes, but it does it so well that yeah, I'm happy that this clicked with me. Yeah, honestly, this ends up being right at an 8 to like an 8.25. Another great pick. I am continuing to add to the thrash love from the 80s. So yeah, I'm gonna go let my cat out of this room now. But good pick, Marty.
Right on. Jim.
Yeah, with my scale, which is like, would buy if cheaper, not buy. Yeah, this is a buy. I think this, those 85, 86, 89 Onslaught albums, I think all three of them are buys. They're totally different from one another.
Yeah.
Three different singers, three different production styles, three different riff styles. But yet they're all strong in their own way for very different reasons. And happy to say that though I was definitely missing Steve Grimmett at first. I after several listens, I got over that. And the music really took hold, and I feel like it's a proper record. So yeah, I think that if you're a metal fan, you would not go wrong with any Onslaught of those three, and you might as well just go ahead and get them all because they're all great. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's a 9.5, 9.5 album. It's just been a classic in my eyes since I heard it when I was a teenager. And the fact all these years I can still put it on and not be tired of it. And it just kind of holds its own really well, even though there are some um, things it's borrowing here and there. They still arrived at a really well written album. It's dark. It's a dark thrash record, man. And it just really, they sold the presentation, and I wanted more of it. And I got the Shell Shock 12-inch when it came out, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It just isn't the same band. And I had Power from Hell, and yeah, I like it better now than I did when I got it. I bought it on cassette when it came out. Well, after I got the Force, I bought the cassette of Power from Hell. So it was probably a year or two, maybe, but you're looking for thrash metal, and that's a crust punk record in a lot of ways. So it grew on me, but now I listen to it and I love it. I think it's great. I think it's an excellent record. Really, it's dirty and just nasty sounding. And this is a great band. And I hearing a few newer songs on the Spotify this week, and it's modern day thrash. It's really hard hitting and heavy, really aggressive, and they've got a bunch of records. So it's cool. They got back together and really kind of settled down a style, it seems, and they've kind of been moving forward. It'll be something I check out more of when the time comes, I guess. But for now, I'm happy with the first two records, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep it there. So yeah, thanks guys, everybody for showing up tonight. And whose pick is it for next week? You're muted.
actually don't know. Is it mine again?
I believe it would be. Because I just did the Dragon in Sunlight. It would be Kellen, but he the possum got it.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's right. Let's pass the torch. Well, craptastic. I'll have to do something on the fly. Marty, talk amongst yourselves while I grab something.
I will say next week some show notes. There's going to be an extra album club. We're going to have our normal Wednesday album club, and then we're going to have another group coming on either Tuesday or Thursday to talk about the new Halloween record. So, and that group will be Mike Seatown, Jimmy from Future Ruins, myself, and Alan. So get ready for that. And
cool.
more reviews coming.
You're doing Carcass and At the Gates on Friday.
Yep. Yeah, with Albert Mudrain from Decibel Magazine and Carl from Skildum and Majesties and Inexorum. Is that the name of his other
Sounds
something
right.
like that. So yeah, it'll be fun. Be a good time. And more, we haven't put out a review this week. There's a couple I'm going to do. I just haven't had time to do it. Well, actually, I've had to have time. I've just been enjoying listening to music to enjoy, not to work with. So might be doing the new Amorphous. So that album sounded pretty good to me. I checked it out here the other day. And what's going on with your channel? Anything coming up?
I am still working on the final Goodwill update for me for a while. So I know everyone's
why for a while?
Really excited. The new job, I'm just not going to Goodwill as much as I used to be. I used to have like a traveling salesman-like job. I could hit like 5 Goodwills in a week, no problem. 10, no problem. But now it's...
If you let them simmer, they marinate and they get the cooler stuff in. And of course, it sounds like a lot of people probably, if you're finding cool stuff, a lot of other people are too. So
I think it's about being there when it drops. The frequency. Yeah.
All right, Jim, what did you find?
We're doing Ruins of Beverast.
The second time for Ruins of Beverast.
Do it again.
All right.
Tim's going to hate it. He hated the last one. I'll hate this one too.
Who did?
Tim.
Who hated the last one?
Tim.
Oh, yeah. So foulest semen of the tortured elite we're doing Ruins of Beverast again. It'll be fun. Good one. Good album. And yeah, I guess that's it. We talked about show notes already. Anybody have anything to add before we jump?
Nope. I think that's it. We haven't done this one, right, Marty?
No, we did Blood Vaults.
I know we did. We did Blood Vaults. I didn't know if we'd done any other ones besides.
Who picked Blood Vaults? Was it Jim too?
It was me. Yeah.
So everything that we said about Blood Vaults, just copy and paste for this one, right? I'll be good. It's a killer record. Good record.
Cool. And thanks for doing an album club on the new Halloween without me. So
yeah, I figured this group needed a rest when it come to that. But yep, we'll see you twice in the album club next week, I think, and we'll see you Friday again. Have a good one, everybody, and take care. We'll see you soon.